मेरी ज़िंदगी का एक बड़ा हिस्सा पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स से मुंसलिक रहने का है। मैं 7 फरवरी 1962 में ज्वाइन किया मैंने 37 GD में, और ज्वाइन करने से मेरी ज़िंदगी की काया पलट गई। मुझे रिफॉर्म कर दिया, मुझे रीबर्थ मिल गई। मेरी जो एबिलिटी थी उनको उजागर कर दिया पाकिस्तान ने। 2 साल की ट्रेनिंग ने ज़िंदगी और मौत को फर्क डाल दिया। मेरा जो रूममेट पहला मुझे मिला उसका नाम था अब्दुल कयूम। कयूम साहब was nicknamed by Haji, and they nicknamed me Haji number 2. He was a very decent soul, and he was 1 GD senior to me, but relegated towards my GD, and I worked with him. Later on, he became a transport pilot, and one of the C-130 crashed. Second one, on my history is Group Captain Israr Quraishi. MashaAllah is living in Nahati. Sitara Jurrat, Sitara Imtiaz, Commander of the Pakistan Air Force Station Risalpur, or Islam Chaklana, and became the OC wing in Risalpur before opting for retirement. He is one of the most wonderful persons that I have ever had in my life, one of the longest living friends, and our friendship is long living and after that. We have a number of episodes of history making things. When I retired and came around, I was a flying instructor, but my family did not back me up for my own plans, and they backed out. I was jobless, I was penniless, and I came to Israr. Israr made me live in his room, paid my mess bills, gave me money to pay my mother. I used to send 200 rupees per month to my mother, all based on Israr. And Israr was so kind, so nice to me. He never mentioned this great, but I was so obliged to him. Throughout my life, I will never forget. I did never forget his favor, and I always wondered. After his life, a number of lapses have come, but I said, Israr, that favor which he did to me can never be replaced, and I can never pay back what you did to me. During those days, I was president of Pindy Flying Club, and in that episode, I went to Pindy Flying Club chief, Haq Saab, Alami Zindagi said there. He is 92 years old and living in Islamabad. He was a senior officer to me, and he said, we cannot afford to pay you, but you can continue flying. So I was totally disappointed, but I continued flying for 3 months, and I flew for about 300 hours in those 3 months. After 3 months, he gave me an allowance of 115 rupees per flying hour. So that way I made 4,500 feet, and that was the first earning after my retirement. I paid back Israr what he did. I paid back all my loans, but I can never pay back his favor throughout my life. Later on, during that period, I had an opportunity to fly with four students of mine, five students of mine, sorry, out of which 4 are died. Number one is the Parvez Iqbal, who crashed in Air Blue as a captain. He was one of the most wonderful and most active pilot. Recent one, I flew with him as his co-pilot on a number of aeroplanes, but I found him absolutely on the mark. Somehow or other, something happened. Allah made emergency. He crashed in the Air Blue. After that, we had Raza. He was a director of flight operation. He rose to be a director and a very successful director of flight operation. And PIA. He ran into stomach ulcer and he died. Third one on the go was the Shahid Rizvi, one of my friend, one of my most favored student, and is a very cherished, very close to me. He left PIA and went to Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, he worked for a number of years and made a lot of money. One day we heard that he died, and I could not find out the details what he died. But he died in Karachi, his brother called. I could not be apprised of that. The fourth and the last boy was Khalid Durrani. Khalid Durrani was roommate of Iqbal Parvez. They were both roommates, but a man of very clean habit, very clean living, very decent on top. He was the one who demonstrated his last cross country to me from Lahore, from Islamabad to Lahore, and made nobody mistake. And I gave him the 100% marks. He was one of the rare persons who could do that thing. I still remember his performance and keep mentioning now time and again at various positions. Khalid Durrani Sahab, he rose to be 7th Post Captain and flew a long history without any accident in PIA, without any. I remember once we had, me and Khalid Durrani were flying together. We lost one engine on 747. He very quietly, calmly, on the landing, he pulled the other engine also to zero and landed on the rest of the remaining engine. The aeroplane and people did not have any panic, nothing to do. We saw Khalid Durrani was a man of very good character, very good meaning, very decent, but unfortunately he had a heart attack. About a month and a half back, and he died. This is how the four people gone. The fifth out of them was Ahmad Said. He had left PIA and joined Saudi. After Saudi, he came back to PIA to join as instructor. But after that, he just vanished. I do not know what the hell and where. This is a story of this my friend whom I trained in Pendi Flying Club. And while at Pendi Flying Club, I learned that Hassan Saab, Squad Leader Hassan, who was the CFI of Shah Flying Club, has died. He was my instructor, my boss, and a very much liked person. We had a lot of respect for each other. So later on, I went to apply for that position. So I was appointed as a CFI of Shah Flying Club. There I was lucky to have two of my brilliant students. Number one was the great pilot, Malik Zubair. Malik Zubair is mashallah living with a retired life. He lives in the defense here and has already great values. Man from Sheikhupura, and he had an LLB degree at that time also. So we could brag that him and me are the only law degree holders. He is still in contact, still respectful to me. He is the only pilot, who is the only senior pilot who serves me like as if he is my student only yesterday. That studentship is finished long back. I respect him as my captain. He respects me as his instructor. And we have a wonderful relationship even today.
Captain Saab, you have been a very successful man and you have been successful in your chosen field. You had been an instructor also in different flying clubs. Would you like to give some message to the youngsters, especially the students nowadays, and they want to go in this field as a pilot in the Air Force or in PIA?
You've got to have no choice. You've got to, whatever field is available, see them, join them, and pay them. They go on money. They charge you money for flying, and they complete your hours, complete your written examination, and then wait for the PIA to call you. And I was about to mention that, and after that I had 5, 6 students. One of them was again a bright student. His name is, anyway, his name I'll come later on. He was very good at his performance. I commended him. The rest of them, out of one of them also was Bharat. Captain Bharat became instructor. He got grounded later on at 737. I was his co-pilot. When I joined PIA, I had to fly as a co-pilot, his co-pilot. And I remember distinctly the amount of respect that Bharat had for me. He would not sit down on his seat, left seat, unless I go and sit down on my right seat. Oh, he would, at one point in time in Multan, one of the mechanics of Air Force, of PIA, he asked me for his jump seat. I said, yes, you can wait. I'll ask the captain for permission. So he felt, he said, up until the time Durrani Saab's student, Saab's mechanic, gets a proper seat, I'm not going to approve this flight. He told the traffic people to give him a respectable seat, and that's how it is. He was one of the remarkable students who used to mention, if Durrani Saab had not taught me from the way he did, in that place I would not have been in here. He became a very famous instructor on the ground. I had been a student once again, but at the same time he was very respectful to me, as if only yesterday. So Captain Bharat is always one of the remarkable persons. At the same time, the others were also. R.M. Malik was one of the ones. Very, very respectful, very, very nice person, qualified person. He flew as a jumbo, he flew all over the world. He worked in America as an operations in charge. But R.M. Malik was a man of his own character, his own living, and very decent person. Then the last one out of the series is that fellow, the small, छोटे कद का आदमी था, वो ये नाम नहीं याद आ रहा. He was one of the wonderful person to fly. I taught him instrument rating, but to taught him my instrument, he had a natural instinct to fly the instrument and proved to me his superiority over others. He was always very thankful to me. Once in PIA, he said, Durrani Saab, if I become in charge of anything, you are the best trainer, instructor, because your words are very effective. I learned a lot from you, and so can everybody else learn a lot. But later on, when the world goes on, we flew many times we flew together in 747. Him being a captain, I being a co-pilot, his co-pilot. And the last few days I remember his remark, अब सुना है अगले महीने रिटायर हो रहे हैं, तो आप तो माशाल्लाह अभी तक फिट हो, टाइट एंड फिट हो. रात के 12-1 बजे जब हम लंदन से वापस आ रहे थे, एंड ही कमेंटेड ऑन दैट. इस किस्म के वाक़यात के अलावा देखा जाए तो ज़िंदगी भरी पड़ी है.